All right, everyone, welcome into another episode of the Spoiler Alert podcast. Dylan and Ty back again. I'm going to try to live through this fucking episode. I'm sick, and Steelers are horrible, so we're going to be sad the whole time. I have a lot of angry things to say about football and about some movies here, but hopefully we'll get through this episode. It'll be fun. I'm just happy to be doing it.
Yeah, partying on a Sunday after the Steelers loss is never really a good thing, but we'll just take out all of our anger on shitty movies, so that's cool.
That's right. And I think, I at least got one to talk about. So we'll get into that. We will be doing some Convince Me to Sees or Not on Dream Scenario, Napoleon, and a little one I threw in here. It's a documentary, came out on HBO, The Boy Who Lived.
Oh, okay.
So that's going to be another one I'm going to convince you to see or not. And then Ty and I both saw The Holdovers, and we will do a full review on that one since we both saw it. I don't know. It's been a minute since we've done a full review for a movie we've both seen.
Yeah, it has been a minute, and I was waiting to see if you were going to drop your score on Letterboxd or not to see if you were separate from me, but I think we both are in the same range with it, so that's cool.
I think so, too. And the last full review we did was for Saw X.
Crazy.
5 episodes ago.
Wow.
So
yeah, episode 40.
Yeah.
40 in.
Yeah, we're 40 episodes in. That's pretty wild.
And it's a big week of upcoming movies.
Dude, I was surprised. You said that there's a lot of things coming out in December. I'm like, really? And then I looked. I'm like, holy crap, there is.
Yeah. Not even in theaters, but like a lot of stuff coming straight to Netflix, too.
But let's get into what is coming out this week. The biggest one and the last one that has at least a chance in terms of Oscars to dethrone Oppenheimer. I don't see it happening, but hey, the odds are up there for at least Emma Stone to the second favorite to win Best Actress. So that movie is Poor Things. We've talked about it a few times here, mostly because it looks weird as hell. Mm-hmm. But it is the incredible tale about the fantastical evolution of Bella Baxter, a young woman brought back to life by the brilliant and unorthodox scientist Dr. Godwin Baxter. So this is Emma Stone, Mark Ruffalo, Willem Dafoe. Oh boy, Yorgos Lanthimos.
Nailed that.
That last name sounds like a spell from Harry Potter.
It really does.
But Yorgos Lanthimos is the director, and he's directed some weird ass shit. I think we've talked about him before because I remember bringing up these movies. So he has The Lobster and The Killing of a Sacred Deer. I think both of those are with Colin Farrell. The Lobster definitely is.
Yeah.
He also directed Dogtooth, which is probably the weirdest.
Fucked up. Yeah.
It's the weirdest fucking thing.
Yeah.
And it feels super low budget. So obviously you got a larger budget for this one. But he also directed The Favorite, which had Emma Stone in it. So obviously a fan of her and bringing her back. The writer, same thing, wrote The Favorite and Cruella. So again, obviously these folks are Emma Stone fans. But high expectations. I believe it was currently sitting at a 8.5 on IMDb, which is pretty high, especially since it's not technically out yet. But it does have 3.7 thousand reviews, so it came out somewhere.
Yeah, definitely came out somewhere, and it wasn't anywhere near us because I would have ran to see this if I could. But I'm excited for this one this week for sure.
The country of origin is Ireland, so maybe they had a little release there first. However, the official site is a Japanese site, so maybe it looks like it dropped over in Japan actually first.
Maybe it did somewhere internationally. That's crazy.
Either way, people seem to like it. Critics seem to really like it. 92 on Metacritic at the moment.
I'm definitely going to see this one this week. I know that for sure.
Absolutely. And
92 Metacritic score is high.
That's very high. Is that the highest for the year? Like, what did Oppenheimer get?
On Metascore, probably. At least as far as one of them goes, because I've been looking back through the Metascore whenever I type out my reviews, and like, nothing is ever really in the 90s.
Let's see here. Best movies of this year. Okay, these are a lot of like weird ass ones.
A lot of 100s on Metascore. Holy shit. For this movie. Poor Things. Wow, I don't even want to look at this. I'm staying away from that. I don't want to be spoiled.
I don't even see Oppenheimer. Oh, there it is. Okay, so currently of like some of these, the top two seem to be documentaries, but the number one in actual movies is Past Lives, and that movie fucking blew.
I don't even think I saw that one. Oh yeah, I remember you told me it blew.
It sucked. It was really bad.
That's the highest one. That's crazy.
It's a 94, and it is marked as a Metacritic must-see.
Okay, so now I don't know how I feel about Metacritic.
Yeah, I mean, all they do is aggregate.
Yeah, it's
scores,
aggregate. Yeah,
so
it's kind of like Rotten Tomatoes, really.
Yeah. But Poor Things is second place at 92.
I'm excited. Really excited for this one.
What's also tied in second place on Metacritic at a 92 is this next movie that's coming out this week, The Boy and the Heron.
Hell yeah.
So a young boy named Mojito, yearning for his mother, ventures into a world shared by the living and the dead. There, death comes to an end and life finds a new beginning. A semi-autobiographical, I can't fucking say it. I'm just going to continue forward. Fantasy from the mind of Hayao Miyazaki, who obviously well known for Spirited Away, How in the Moving Castle, My Neighbor Totoro. Quite a handful of very well received films. But his last full-length film that he directed was in 2013, so it's been 10 years since his last one.
Wow.
We do get a decent amount of English voice actors. I will say I'm gonna prefer to watch it in Japanese and read the subtitles. But if you don't like that, that's fine. They have some damn solid English voice actors here. Christian Bale coming back to do another Miyazaki film. He was Hal in Hal in the Moving Castle.
That's awesome.
I forget when that came out. That's been a while. Other folks here: Dave Bautista, Willem Dafoe, Mark Hamill, Robert Pattinson, Florence Pugh.
I like all of those
voice actors.
All very good actors and voice actors. So that's a great cast. This is one that I wouldn't mind seeing an English version of. So I'll probably see the English version.
And they do a good job. All of these films that he's made, they're fine to see in English. It works out. There's a lot of, if you're in like the anime world and you watch a dub, they're usually not the best.
Right.
But this can be done pretty well.
I just can't believe that Robert Pattinson plays the heron.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, I'm a bird. I don't know if he's been in any of his other films.
No, I think he's never done voice acting before. I think it's like his first. Okay. I think I read that. I could be completely wrong, but I thought I read that.
And being a good actor does not always translate to being a good voice actor.
Very true.
I saw that not that he's a great actor, but oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank on his name. He plays Asian Jim in The Office.
Oh, I know. Randall Park.
Randall Park, thank you. Yes, Randall Park voice acts in Blue-Eyed Samurai on Netflix. And doesn't work. His voice does not match his character at all, and it's pretty bad to watch. Not a terrible show, but he stands out like a sore thumb. Next film here, Eileen. A woman's friendship with a new coworker at the prison facility where she works takes a sinister turn.
This one's on my list as well. I've seen this one, and it's intriguing.
This sounds like there was a TV show that was about, it was a true story, based on a true story with, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank on his name too. Dumb Money, the main guy, we like him in a lot of things. He was in The Batman. He played the Riddler.
Oh, it's going to drive me crazy now. Paul Dano.
Paul Dano, thank you. But there's a show with him in it that is similar. She works at a prison and ends up going into a relationship with multiple people at the prison. That was called Escape at Dannemora. That is on Prime or Showtime, depending where you like to watch it. True story. Interesting. It was good. The girl who plays the main person, Tilly, is Kissing Kate Arlo from Holes.
Oh, okay. I know you're talking about.
Might little deep dive there, but she's in actually a lot of things.
Kissing Kate.
Folks here, Thomasin McKenzie from Jojo Rabbit, Leave No Trace, Last Night in Soho, Shea Wiggum, You'll recognize him. He's in a lot of shit. But more recently in Mission Impossible, he plays George Stacy in the Spider-Verse movies. He was in True Detective, the later Fast and Furious films. He's in a lot of shit. And then finally, this woman has a wild name, Siobhan Fallon Hogan. And if you look at her face, you will recognize her because she is in everything. Just as a random background character, she was on Saturday Night Live for a little bit. In Men in Black.
I was going to say Men in Black is immediately what I thought of. She's the Bug's wife.
Yeah.
He's asking her for sugar water.
Always like a random ass background character. But she is also in Eileen.
I feel like we haven't seen Anne Hathaway in a movie in a long time, but I'm looking at what she most recently has been in, and it's because she hasn't been in a lot of shit. Like that was at least on our radar.
The last thing I remember.
All these movies
haven't
been great either. Ocean's 8, Serenity, those have all been pretty not well received. The Hustle, no. Everything that she's been in lately has kind of been like a drag. So hopefully this is a return to form for her. She's always been a solid actress. Thomasin McKenzie, though, I do like her a lot. Yeah, she's apparently in it. She has that blonde wig. She's very far down on the top cast, though, for some reason.
That's... Oh my gosh, yeah, that looks... The hell... Yeah, there she is. Wow, I did not scroll down far enough to see her name. Okay, yeah, Anne Hathaway.
Yeah, it's weird, because she's like one of the main people they show in the trailer. But then, it's just IMDb being weird again, because... Yeah. Thomasin McKenzie and Anne Hathaway are like the two top build, you'd have to think. And so, the top cast is Thomasin McKenzie and then a bunch of other people. And then way far down below is Anne Hathaway.
Interesting. So sometimes they order the cast in top build, but this one is in just credits order for whatever reason. Okay,
so she might not be in for that long.
Yeah, hopefully
Thomasin McKenzie, though, low-key good actor these days. I really like her. Jojo Rabbit's a really good movie. I like that. I like Last Night in Soho quite a bit, too. She was in Old, that M. Night movie. That sucked. But other than that, she's been in some pretty solid stuff lately. I'm sure she'll be good in this. It's not a crazy, original premise for a movie. I feel like we've seen stuff like this before, but it's still interesting, nonetheless.
Yeah. Let's see what happens. I don't think this one's based on a true story, but it seems interesting enough to give it a go.
This has a potential 3-movie week for me. If I end up seeing... obviously good things, poor things in The Boy and the Heron are my 1 and 2. I lean to a far third, so if I have time, I'll make time to see it.
We'll see. Maybe you have time for this last movie. Sounds a little interesting, but maybe a much older cast. It's maybe past their prime. You get the old James Bond, Pierce Brosnan in Fast Charlie. Charlie Swift is a fixer with a problem. The thug he's whacked is missing his head, and Charlie will only be paid if the body can be identified.
Okay, that actually sounds hilarious.
I don't know if it's supposed to be a comedy. It is not. It is not marked as a comedy. But that actually kind of goes into something I'm going to talk about later about things being comedic, but not supposed to be. But yep, you get Pierce Brosnan in this, James Caan, who, of course, from the Godfather movies, and maybe, more in the festive spirit, Elf. He plays the dad. Marina Baccarin, who is Vanessa in the Deadpool movies.
Oh, okay. I thought she looked familiar.
And then the writer is Richard Wenk, who wrote all of the Equalizer films.
Oh, okay. So that makes sense. This is like his wheelhouse, you'd have to think then.
Yeah. And it looks like this is coming direct to streaming. I don't see any showtimes for it anywhere.
Oh, okay. Even better then.
Yeah. So I don't know where it's releasing, but it does not have any showtimes here to talk about.
Fast Charlie movie. What the hell? It's 100% on Rotten Tomatoes?
Killing it.
5 reviews. That's where they always get me. Distributed by Vertical.
Oh, wait, here it is. Related lists. Fast. Oh my gosh. Fast. Why is it being annoying? Fast Charlie. It's just video on demand.
Oh, so maybe it'll be on Amazon and all that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm sure we'll be able to find a stream of it.
Yeah, if it's out there, you can, we're not going to tell you where to go, but you can figure things out.
For sure.
But that was the last, at least, film that needed talked about that's coming out this week.
Okay, well, let's kick it over to news. And not a whole ton of stuff, not a bunch of anything really exciting, to be honest, but we do have some stuff here. So, first off, start off with a little bit of Marvel news. Per the usual, we get a little tidbit here and there. Avengers Kang Dynasty has hired the Loki creator Michael Waldron as its screenwriter. He was already on board for the Secret Wars movie, but now he's going to do this one as well. And apparently Secret Wars is also going to wrap up the multiverse saga, which feels like it just started. I feel like they've just started calling this like last few movies here the multiverse saga, but I'm not even very excited for it, to be honest with you. But we just know that he's the screenwriter now, so it's still scheduled to land in theaters May 1st, 2026, but we'll see. Neither movie still has a director, though, but this seems like the logical best choice to screenwrite because Loki is, like I said before, probably the best Marvel show they've done, so it makes sense that he would be behind all this. Speaking of Marvel, though, Tom Holland says he's only going to come back as Spider-Man if it's worthwhile for the character. Yeah, right. He's coming. There's no chance he's not coming back as Spider-Man. He's one of the best things that Marvel has going for them right now. So I'm sure if they throw him a boatload of money, he'll absolutely come back. One thing that Kevin Feige has came out and said that absolutely won't be taking back, though, and absolutely won't return is Iron Man. He won't be back. They said they want to keep that moment the way it is, which, I mean, is definitely the right call. You can bring other people in, bring them back, but Tony Stark, let him go. Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man. Don't bring him back. That was like the best part of those last couple movies there. We don't want to see him back. Nosferatu got its release date. We talked about this, it feels like a while ago, but it's coming out Christmas 2024, which seems like a weird time for a Nosferatu movie to come out, but Robert Eggers wrote and directed this one. He's done The Witch, The Lighthouse, and The Northman, all of which I really like, so I think he's got potential to completely just nail this one. There's a couple pictures released. It's got Lily Rose Depp on the cover. You kind of see a long, weird-looking hand in the shadows over her face, so probably Nosferatu's hand. Also, it's going to star Bill Skarsgård, Nicholas Hoult, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, and a couple other people I never heard of. Oh, and Willem Dafoe. Willem Dafoe just in everything these days. Good for Willem. But it's a new imagining of the movie, and it's described as a gothic tale of obsession between a haunted young woman and the terrifying vampire infatuated with her, causing untold horror in its wake. So that's really funny. Like, I'm just thinking, like, this chick's just, like, you know, living in a castle or whatever you do in those times, and fucking Nosferatu's just like, I gotta fuck this girl, dude. Like, it's like, I gotta have her. Do it. And she's like, what the hell? You're Nosferatu. Leave me alone. So we'll see how good that ends up being, but I'm excited for it. Another one I'm excited for now, even though at first I was, and then I wasn't, now I kind of am again, and I'm watching one movie related to it right now, is the first Wonka reactions are in. I'm watching Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory right now, but critics and entertainment journalists, the first all reactions, are calling it a winning confection and an instant holiday classic. So, like we said before, it's directed by the Paddington and Paddington 2 director Paul King. It stars Timothy Chalamet as a younger version of the famous character, and it's set before he opens his famous chocolate factories and all that. But all the first reviews are actually really positive and saying Tim Chalamet is kind of just nailing it as a young Willy Wonka. So that's cool. Because, I mean, the movie poster looks terrible. The trailer doesn't look great.
I didn't like the trailer either, yeah.
But if the first reactions are good, maybe it has some hope. So we'll see. I want it to be good just because Willy Wonka has always been one of my go-to movies. It's always just been a favorite of mine. So I want it to be good, but I'm not expecting it to be great. Another one here that's getting a sequel, I've never saw the first one actually, is we're getting The Black Phone 2. Still haven't seen the first one, but apparently Ethan Hawke and the original cast are returning, and it has a theatrical release date of June 27th, 2025.
Yeah, I'll jump in here. Don't see the first one.
Okay, there we go. You saved me about 2 hours.
It sucked. It was not good.
I did see that it made a decent amount of money at the box office, and that's why it ended up getting the sequel. Which, I mean, obviously, if Ethan Hawke and the original cast are returning, nothing really must happen in the first one.
I'm even struggling to remember. You know, maybe it's a prequel or something, but it was like I was really excited for this movie, and then I watch it, and it's almost like nothing happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like the entire time. And I don't even think it's that long of a movie. It just felt like it went on forever. Nothing happened. And, you know, Ethan Hawke is in one of my favorite horror films, Sinister. And I'm like, all right, let's go. Let's ride with this. And no, wasn't great.
Yeah, so, okay, that saves me about 2 hours or whatever. But we'll see if that one's worth our time come then. But who knows? Another one, though, that is worthy of a sequel, it's Thanksgiving. It just came out, and it's already been announced that it's getting a sequel. The script is being worked on, and its sequel is set for release in 2025. So that's awesome. That movie, well deserving of a sequel. It's a good time. I highly recommend that one still. And that's the last of the news there. Not a ton this week.
Okay. Got a few sequels. And yeah, Wonka, I think the full trailer came out and watched that. I was like, okay, you know, I know I'm going to see it eventually, but, you know, I don't think either of us are the bigger or big Willy Wonka guys.
Yeah. So, especially the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory one. I like the original Charlie or the original Willy Wonka a lot.
Yeah.
But the remake with Johnny Depp, bizarre. So I hate that movie, to be honest with you. So we'll see. Hopefully this one is more like the original and less like the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Mm-hmm. But I just get like, you know what kind of vibes I get? I get the Fantastic Beasts, Harry Potter vibes from it. Like, it's not as good as the original. It's kind of just there.
It's unnecessary.
So, unnecessary, for sure.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Fair enough. Oh, cool. Let's get into the Convince Me the C's or Not. I have two of them. Ty, you have one. So we'll just we'll Oreo sandwich you in between.
Yeah, we'll sandwich me in there. That'll work.
Well, what was that old commercial for like the 2000s? The squeeze in the middle commercials. Was that Oreo?
I can't even remember.
Oh my gosh, that's the thing on YouTube. It's like squeeze in the middle, smack dab in the middle. It's definitely no. It was I think it was Chips Ahoy. They made Chips Ahoy with like an Oreo, so something like that. It's definitely a thing. I'm not making that up. What I wish I was making up is that I saw Napoleon. Oof. And the reviews were right. It was not a great watch. Man, how do I... In short, it was a mess. It was all over the place. It was choppy. Like, it would go from scene to scene, and literal years would pass between the scene. And the only way you would know is because they had to put, you know, like little title on the screen saying, oh, this is where he's at and what the date and year is. And just all over the place. Because it starts out, you know, he is, the beginning is actually pretty solid. It starts out like crazy. There you go. And the French people are just, wow, they always just want to decapitate everyone on the guillotine. And so I think they're pulling out the queen and they throw her in the guillotine, chop her head off, and like you see it all. It's pretty fucking gruesome. And they're carrying around her head like, yeah, fucking killed her, and everyone's cheering and shit. And essentially, you know, it feels like Napoleon plays a larger role in helping out France, which that's the toughest part, is that a lot of it isn't explained of how he rose to power. And you would think that would be kind of a big plot point of the movie about Napoleon. And it's like, yes, you see him growing into power, but it feels like there's just shit missing that explains it. It's like they show him after the killing of the queen, and he like gives advice on how to attack some port that England owns or some shit. And they go and do it. And then they're like, oh, you're general now. Like, they just show him getting promoted as general. And he's like, yes. And then walks over to his dead horse, and it goes to the next scene. And I'm like, it is all over the fucking place. It is a mess. I did hear that there's like a 3 to 4 hour director's cut. That maybe that'll be better because they didn't cut out everything. But it is extremely tough to follow. And like we talked about on the last episode about, even in the description of the film, it talks about his relationship with his wife and how it's going to be focused on that. It was. And I didn't give a shit at all. so much of the movie is his wife being a whore, like legitimately like cheating on him while he's in Egypt, like fucking up the Egyptians. And like he gets word that his wife has taken on a lover. So he leaves Egypt to go back home to like confront her. And it turns into this whole thing. And then it just ends up being that like he's a massive cuck and he doesn't care. And, like it's bad. And I do a little bit more reading. And so much of the movie is just made up. And while you kind of expect that going into any historical film, you know there's going to be exaggerations.
Yeah.
But from what I understand is it's pretty far-fetched. Like when he left, where did I say, Egypt or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
And that apparently didn't exactly happen that way. And then the other thing was Napoleon getting mad at this other dude because he is now with his wife. But apparently in real life, they were divorced for like multiple years when that happened. And he didn't care anymore. So I don't exactly know what the writers and Ridley Scott was going for. This is not worth your time, even though it's not the 3 to 4 hour movie it could have been. It's still 2.5 hours or whatever, and it's just 2.5 hours of what am I watching? And like I was kind of saying about the movies before, where you don't know if it's supposed to be a comedy or not.
Mm-hmm.
This was not marked as a comedy, but it sure felt like one, because I was like not laughing hysterically, but I'd just be like, what the fuck is that for? It was very far out there. The battle scenes and like the gore was actually extremely good. That's the only positive I can give to this movie. Mm-hmm. And Joaquin Phoenix just felt out of place. I don't.
That's weird. I don't
understand why in this day and age they wouldn't have it in French.
Right. What is up with that?
Like I get that a lot of people don't like subtitles and everything, and maybe that loses your audience. But I also think the people that are going to take the time and care to see a movie about Napoleon will fucking read. You know, so
sure.
I think that was a massive downfall, having them speak English. Mm-hmm. And some of the French people even had like British accents. And so like, it was just very, 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 very off for me. It just felt like it was put together extremely fast, and you definitely feel that things are cut out.
Yeah, that's what I remember reading, that it's just like they didn't know what the tone of the movie was supposed to be. Like it was too all over the place. So I'm really glad I did end up not seeing it that day after work. So it sounds like I probably would have fallen asleep or just been really angry. Yeah,
definitely the latter, because I was engaged with the movie. Like I wasn't bored, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. But I was entertained in a bad way. It was more like, all right, what stupid shit is going to happen next, instead of, oh my God, this is so captivating, I have to pay attention to it.
Right.
At that point, it was all just for the pod.
Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually a good thing sometimes.
Yeah. So you're welcome, everyone.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. That's a bummer, though, because that was movies like pretty highly anticipated for a while there, and just a bummer, it sounds like. Just kind of a letdown.
For sure.
Should we go into a movie that is worth talking about on my end?
Let's do it. Yeah, I would love to be happy.
What was your score on that? What did you end up going on?
Oh, yes, I should have done that. I ended up giving it a 3, and I was going back and forth quite a bit on that. And what I had to do was go and look at some things I've recently rated, and if I gave them, a 3 or a 4. Mm-hmm. And I did go back and forth because I didn't stop watching. And, that the only time I'll give like a 1 is if it's completely unwatchable and I don't finish it. Mm-hmm. I was able to make my way through this, and then I was thinking 4, but then I started looking at all the other things I've rated 4s. And a lot of the reasons I've rated 4s was it just kind of bored me. There was nothing really wrong with the movie. It just bored me. So I took it down to a 3 because it had actual flaws as a film. And it wasn't just not exciting. So yes, I ended up at a 3 out of 10.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, that's one that I don't know if I'm even gonna want to make time to watch. To be honest with you, after hearing all that, we'll see. Maybe I'll throw it on at some point. But yeah, that's a convince me not to see right there, folks. If I ever heard it,
I did put on Letterboxd that I'm willing to give the director's cut a chance.
Yeah.
Because I didn't like Justice League, and then the Snyder's cut I actually enjoyed a decent amount. And it's long as shit for sure, but I'm willing to give it a chance because there's a story there. It was just cut horribly.
Release the Snyder cut of Napoleon.
That's
cowards. Right. So that'll lead me into Dream Scenario here. This is one that I only really found out about last week on the pod. I might have heard of it before, so we might have maybe mentioned it on an upcoming movie or a news or anything rundown. But yeah, this one caught my attention after we did the rundown last week, and what a pleasant surprise. So I was actually torn between this. Well, I had bought tickets to see Silent Night. I decided against it, and I was going to go see Godzilla -1, but I still kind of wasn't feeling it. And then I finally saw that there was a showing of this, and I just completely changed my mind. And this was the one that was right up my alley, so I was on it. Quick synopsis, though, for anybody that doesn't remember last week. A hapless family man finds his life turned upside down when millions of strangers suddenly start seeing him in their dreams. When his nighttime appearances take a nightmarish turn, Paul, who is played by Nick Cage, is forced to navigate his newfound stardom. So current ratings here, 7.4 on IMDb, 92% certified fresh critic score, and 70% audience score on RT. So critics seem to like it a little bit more than the audience there, but pretty good scores all around there. Quick hour and 42-minute runtime, not bad, but pretty much just starring Nick Cage and maybe a few others you'd recognize in there. There's a Tim Meadows, and I don't want to go too into detail in case you see it. There's one guy that turns up, I was like, oh, I haven't seen him in a while. If you go through the cast, you'll probably figure out who it is. But like I said, didn't know a whole lot about this movie going into it, which is really the best thing to do these days, because then you don't have like crazy expectations. I was sold after our rundown, so I never even watched the trailer or anything. And seeing solid reviews didn't really hurt either, but right away, whenever you see that A24 banner these days, you pretty much can just assume it's going to be a banger. At least I do. There's not really a better production company out there making original movies like this, and this one it blew me away. So Nick Cage is just this hilarious, dorky-ass college professor. It's pretty much just your average older white guy. And everything he just does and says is hilarious. Even his little mannerisms, the way he talks are funny too. And then all this starts happening, and it just gets so bizarre, and it's really funny. Some really just laugh out loud moments, and there's quite a few people in the theater too. Everybody was kind of just laughing, like, what in the world are we watching? So it's really cool that we got to see a lot of these dreams play out on the screen too. That's like a really interesting concept we don't really see too much of. So he starts showing up in these people's dreams, and he asks to hear all about them. And we get to watch them take place on the screen, and it's just like, it gets wild. Eventually, though, it does take that hard right turn from lighthearted and pretty funny to just the complete opposite when everybody's dreams turn into nightmares. And the movie does a good job at doing both the happy part and the funny part, and then the kind of not horror-ish, but like more of like the thriller-ish vibe. It gets more intense, I would say.
Okay.
But all in all, I really like this movie. It was definitely unique in a world of sequels and spin-offs and Marvel. We got a nice original movie here with a great performance by Nick Cage. There's never a boring moment, which is pretty rare these days. I'm going to go pretty high on this one. It's a 9 for me.
Wow.
I'm excited to see how it'll stack up with the rest of the movies once the year ends, but I like this one quite a bit. For reference, just a tad more than Thanksgiving. So Thanksgiving was like a pretty high 8. This one, just a tad higher at a 9. So I also wrote down that this feels like everything they wanted Beau is Afraid to be, but it does it a lot better. And I was looking, and I saw that at one point, Ari Aster was going to direct this movie, and Adam Sandler was going to be the main character.
Oh, my God.
So that would have been crazy, because I really liked it, but I can only imagine how it would have been with that combo going on there. That's awesome.
That's actually really funny.
But it was a good one. I definitely recommend seeing this one. I think you'll enjoy it quite a bit, because I definitely did.
Awesome. Yeah, and Nick Cage, not only is like A24 willing to do some wacky things,
yeah,
Nick Cage as an actor is really into that too.
Yeah. He's just like, he just doesn't give a hell anymore. It's awesome. He's just like back. I feel like for a while there, really wasn't in a lot of stuff. And if he was, it was just kind of just weird, random shit. This movie's great. And it's like pretty much right up our alley. It's A24. It's like got some horror vibes, got some comedy vibes. Definitely check this one out. Yeah, for sure. Definitely on my list. It was I think we did talk about it. I don't know how long ago, but we were like looking at it, we're like, the hell is this? And we're like, that there's going to be, we said at the beginning of the year, there's going to be some random ass movies that no one's paying attention to that are going to jump to the top of our list. And I actually think we have a couple this episode that are good examples of that. But for sure. It looks wild. It looks funny. And I'm glad it's not super long because, you know, my worry was it's going to be like, oh boy, what was the movie? Well, I'm losing it. Never mind. I'm going to cut that out because I can't remember what the hell I'm thinking of. But I was worried that the kind of plot point was going to get played out. It's like, okay, we get it. Everyone knows them from their dreams. But I'm glad it didn't progress that way. Yeah, no, not too long. And it goes pretty quick. It was a good time. Definitely a good time. If something happened and one lady in the audience was like, what the hell is this movie? It was so funny. I don't know if it was the end or somewhere in the middle. It was funny. Yeah. So, yeah, A Better Beau is Afraid is interesting to me. Yeah, I would say that. A Better Beau is Afraid. It's not really the same, like, plot or anything like that. Yeah, it's just a weird movie, and it's good. Beau is Afraid was weird and not good. Right. Yeah, I'll have to get to the theaters and see this one. Nick Cage. You know, Nick Cage, when we did our favorite movies of 2022... his film ended up pretty high on my list. It was in my top 5. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Yeah. So the random shit, the wild shit, it's good. It's good. I'm just happy that there's a studio that will take chances on something different. Yeah, they're kind of just letting Nick Cage cook with these weird ass roles. It's awesome. For sure. I wish there was a world where we get the Ari Aster, Adam Sandler version of this movie. I do too. I want that universe. Just everyone seeing Adam Sandler in their dreams is hilarious. Yeah, that just rules. And what I would hope from that movie is like, it's just actually Adam Sandler like going in and doing like goofy ass voices, and they don't actually change anything about him. But anything else about that, Ty? No, I don't want to dive too deep into it just because there's not too much there to spoil, but I just want to avoid it as possible. It's sure. Good. It's definitely worth a watch. Awesome. And there's a picture here on IMDb that kind of I thought maybe would spoil it for me, so maybe just avoid looking at all the pictures on IMDb. Fucking again. IMDb. And not really. So it really isn't too bad, but I thought it might at the beginning. I was like, oh, okay, that's what this is, but it ended up being not a thing. Gotcha. But yeah, Ty, with that rating of the 9, it has potential to jump to the top. That means I have to give it a 10 in order for it to hop over Oppenheimer. But currently, it is sitting at second place, tied. Wow. I would be shocked if you gave this a 10. I think it's a good movie, but I don't think it's a perfect movie. Yeah, I don't have a 10 this year. Yeah. I'm saving it, you know? I'm like, all right, maybe something will jump out at me. Time is ticking. And quite honestly, the film we're going to review here at the end, it had potential. A little bit of a spoiler alert there. Did. But I'll give my reasoning for why it did not. But yeah, before we move on to that, I will go through my convince you to see, and I am going to convince you to see this one. It's a documentary, David Holmes, The Boy Who Lived. Now, of course, our generation, we know The Boy Who Lived, it's Harry Potter. Yep. And so this is that documentary about Daniel Radcliffe's stunt double. Throughout all of the Harry Potter films, he was his stunt double. And what ended up happening was during the filming of Deathly Hallows Part 2, they were filming the stunt where Nagini attacks Harry on the steps in Hogwarts. And the way they did that was they have him tied to this pulley system that's going to throw him backwards. And when they were testing it out,
it was set on too high of a pressure, and it snapped him back and broke his spine.
Holy shit.
And so David Holmes is now confined to a wheelchair permanently. And
That's
so
crazy.
that's what this documentary is about. It's about really just him and who he was before, during, and after the Harry Potter films. Mm-hmm. And he's still like really close friends with Daniel Radcliffe. And so Daniel Radcliffe is in this as well. But they're still good friends. He supports them along the way. It's extremely sad documentary. But just the way this guy, David Holmes, is so positive throughout it all is heartwarming. But this is on HBO Max. I won't go too deep into it. I've said everything that really matters. Everything else as the details is just sad, tragic, beautiful. I'm pretty sure those are Taylor Swift lyrics, but sad, beautiful, tragic. That's what it is. Those are the lyrics, but it is it's very good. And especially if you're a Harry Potter fan, while it's not about Harry Potter, so much of their lives were making those movies for 10 plus years. They had to make these films.
Yeah.
And if you're a fan of just behind the scenes stuff as well, in terms of filmmaking, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've seen that one on there. It's just been avoiding me. I haven't had time to watch it yet, but definitely sounds like a good one as far as documentaries go. We like a good documentary here, so
yeah. And it was just a random throw on. Like I'm like, yeah, that's coming out soon. And I'm like, wait, is that out? And then there it was on HBO Max. Like they didn't really push it. Like it wasn't on the front page or anything. But yeah, it is currently on there. You just got to go and search for it.
Nice.
But let's get into our full review of The Holdovers. This is an under the radar movie that we didn't talk about a ton, but here it is. It is. Well, we'll just tell you now. It's worth watching.
Absolutely worth watching. I don't think it's being advertised really a ton either. So its theatrical run may be done, but actually it's on streaming now. You can watch it on Prime right now. Yeah.
So there you go. And it's worth it. It's worth the price of admission. Little synopsis here. A cranky history teacher at a remote prep school is forced to remain on campus over the holidays with a troubled student who has no place to go. So when I first started watching this movie, Ty, have you seen The Dead Poets Society with Robin Williams?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was reminding me of as well.
Exactly. But this movie is fantastic. It takes place in the 70s, and what was funny was when we were watching it, the beginning, like the opening, like credits of all the studios and everything, they use the old 70s style graphics.
I love it. I love it. It made me feel like I was in the 70s. I love a movie that takes you back.
And so we were watching it, and Sophie thought it was she thought it was that old. And she's like, Paul Giamatti's looked like that this long? I'm like, no. He's just always been old.
Yeah, he's always been old and has a weird eye.
Yeah. Man, I don't really know what to say without doing spoilers other than worth a watch. I will say that it took me a little bit to get hooked. But once I absolutely loved it. And that is the reason, I'll throw out my score here. I gave it a 9.
Me too.
If it would have grabbed me from the very beginning, I honestly think this would have been my 10. But it did take me a little while to get into it.
Yeah. It is a bit on the longer side.
Yeah. But once there's a distinct break in the movie where it's just extremely good versus, we're still just trying to introduce you to everything. And we'll talk about that more in the spoiler section. But without any spoilers, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, it's just like the really classic feel-good vibe to this movie. Takes you back. It's like a slice of life movie. And it's worth the watch for sure. And
there's not really a full, like, normal plot. There's not like, a big climax, a big thing happens that changes everything. It really isn't like that. It's more of a storyless story about character development is how it feels.
Pretty much, yeah. They're just stuck there. They're holding over.
Let's go ahead. Let's jump into the spoilers here.
Yeah.
If you don't want spoilers, which I highly recommend, one, seeing this film and not listening to the spoiler part, and maybe come back and see if you agree with what we say.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, not a ton of people in this film. It's Paul Giamatti. Get some other folks. This Divine Joy Randolph. I know I've seen her in other things. But I loved her. She just feels like a caring, sweet woman that you just want to be friends with, and that's exactly what they were to her in this movie. She's just a casual lunch lady, but they make her feel included, and honestly, she kind of includes herself. But
yeah,
just you like every character in this movie.
Yeah, there's not a character you don't like. There's like the little dickhead characters that, of course, you're not supposed to like. But everybody that you're hanging out with the whole movie, they're great. They're a great character. That reminds me, the guy that plays Angus, it's his first ever acting role. His name's Dominic Sesses. First ever acting performance. I think he nailed it as that kid.
Yeah, good for him.
Absolutely nailed it. I think for sure Giamatti's going to end up being nominated. I wouldn't be surprised if this movie's being nominated for Best Picture, honestly. That reminds me, nominations are announced January 23rd for the Oscars, which are hosted by Jimmy Kimmel this year, and the Oscars are on March 10th. So I'm excited to see how many of the Best Picture nominees we have seen.
Yeah, hopefully all of them. I always get annoyed when we go into Oscar season and they list all these films for Best Picture. I'm like, I haven't seen like 4 of these, and that's just always super annoying.
Right, and it's weird now whenever we haven't seen or heard of any of these because we run down all the upcoming movies.
Exactly. So the Academy likes to find random shit to throw at us.
Yeah, this movie, there's so many good laughs, a lot of funny parts, a lot of serious parts, a lot of dramatic parts. It's really got it all. But I love these movies. They're just like a slice of life. You're just kind of there. Like, I really liked Licorice Pizza a few years ago, and it's around the same era, but this one too, it just got that feel. The cinematography's great. The acting's great. There's nothing bad to say about this movie, I don't think. Maybe the length, if you're going to hold that over its head, but really, I mean, just a good movie.
Yeah, I don't think I want to hold the length over its head. It just took a while to kick off, because they start off with a bunch of kids staying over. There was like 8 or something like that, 6, 8, something like that, and then they all randomly leave to go skiing. and
there's not enough. They can't get a hold of his mom and dad or whatever.
Exactly.
That was so funny. I thought there wasn't going to be enough room on the helicopter at first.
Right, that'd be funny as shit.
That was so funny because at first I was like, oh, how many people are actually going to be here holding over? Because I just kind of thought it was going to be 2 of them, and then they just get picked up by a helicopter.
And that made it a better movie because when I like that it could focus on a handful, essentially 3 characters, and just focus on them the entire time.
Paul Giamatti was like, I think this was like his role of his career.
Yeah, he always plays an asswipe. Have you realized that?
Yeah, definitely.
And like he is in this movie too, but you grow to like him. For sure.
It's so funny, just all his little manners and shit. He's like an old alcoholic, like professor. He's got the wonky eye. He's got the funny sayings and shit. He's just kind of like a tough ass older dude.
What's funny is
I starts to warm up a little bit.
I didn't realize the lazy eyes until, I don't know, maybe 45 minutes into the movie, where they were
calling him walleye.
No, it wasn't. It was before they like brought attention to it. I think it was at the Christmas party. And I was like, are his eyes messed up? And it was like really confusing me. And then we started talking about like, how did they do that? Like, what is the special effect?
I think
CGI?
it's a contact lens. I think it's a contact.
It just like Googles away.
Yeah, I think it just makes one eye derped up.
Yeah, it's hilarious because it was both eyes.
Yeah,
it was
just wonky.
It was interesting to see how they did that. But
which eye's the good one? Which one should I look at?
Exactly, and I love that. I love the bluntness of the characters.
Yeah, it was so funny too. Even just like the dumb shit, like whenever he's chasing around the school, everything they do, like just riding in the car, it's just all like a good time. Yeah.
They even gave like the waitress shit when they wouldn't give him Cherry's Jubilee because there's bourbon in it.
Yeah,
and, like that's the most ridiculous shit
They go out to make their own in the car, and then it just fucking... Does it slide off the roof, or what happens to it?
No, it caught on fire. It wouldn't go out.
That was fucking hilarious.
No, it's absolutely a joy to watch this movie. Honestly, man, this might end up being my favorite movie of the year.
It was really... I want to watch it again now after talking about it. That's how it always goes. We talk about these movies. Whoa. For some reason, I thought this movie was damn near 3 hours long. It's only 2 hours and 13 minutes, which is a little bit longer, but... Yeah, I don't know why I was thinking it was so much longer than it is.
And I do think it's that beginning. The beginning feels long.
Yeah, it does a little bit. It takes before they get into, being held over or whatever.
Yeah.
That's when everything kicks up. But I think that this guy that played Angus, like what a great debut performance for him. That's crazy.
For sure. I've only rated 3 movies as a 9. This, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and Oppenheimer.
I think I have a couple now.
Man, this might be at the top. It's going to be interesting when we finally have to order these down the line during our awards. Right. We'll do our awards before the Oscars. Screw that.
Yeah,
there's no reason to wait to fucking February or whatever.
Yeah.
Dumb. But again, overall, just an enjoyable movie. Not everything needs to have a happy ending, and I can't really say that the ending of this movie was happy. He gets fired. Yeah,
exactly. That's what was tough about this movie. It's like it has a happy ending for Angus, but for Paul Giamatti, you kind of just feel a little bad. But I mean, in the end, though, it's kind of like it completes his arc. Like he goes from being like the tough ass teacher, he's like no nonsense, to this kid kind of changes his life a little bit. Not in like the way that like it's too sappy or anything like that. Just like he experienced the holiday with his kid all by himself, and then he wanted to help this kid for the better, so he didn't want to. Yeah,
and that's kind of his whole thing throughout the film. Is he's a stand-up guy in the sense that he doesn't back down just because of power,
right?
Of other people. So like, he failed students that were sons of rich and powerful people, and he gets shit for it. He's like, they shouldn't be stupid,
right?
So like that's his whole thing throughout the movie. He's sick to his guns. He's sick to what he believes. And, sadly it gets him fired, but hopefully he gets to travel like he wanted to.
Yeah, definitely. This is also one perfect time for the holidays here coming up. I'm glad. Yeah. I've seen this one a couple weeks ago, but I've been holding on to it here for close to the holidays. It is kind of a Christmas movie. Not as much of a Christmas movie as Die Hard is. Don't get me wrong, but... No, but it's a good movie. I definitely recommend this. I think we both nothing but good things to say about this movie.
100%. And to just kind of end it off here with some random trivia, the entire film was shot in practical, real locations. No sets or sound stages were used, which doesn't happen that often anymore.
It definitely feels like you're in that school, you're in that old bar. That's awesome. It probably is in just some small town in the middle of nowhere. And they probably just took it over. That's cool.
And like you said about Dominic Sessa's, this was his first on-screen debut. He did do a bunch of plays on stage where he went to school at Deerfield Academy, which is also in Massachusetts, where this movie took place.
Okay, there it is, Massachusetts then. Good to know.
He said the hardest scene for him to film was ice skating scene. Mostly because he was supposed to fall on command, but he had a hard time falling on command because he used to play hockey.
There you go.
Let's see, anything else interesting? Another first for someone involved with this film, David Hemingson's feature film screenwriting debut. He's only produced television shows and made for TV movies.
That's awesome. Hell of a debut for him too. That's awesome.
Let's see here. Anything else?
I didn't get to take good notes during this movie because I was sitting next to a lot of old people. Theater was actually pretty packed for my showing, which was cool. So I didn't want to really... I knew I probably would distract them by sitting right beside them taking notes, even though I'm usually pretty good at it. I wasn't able to... I usually take notes of any funny like lines and stuff like that. I'm trying to see. Yeah. Let me go through here. Yeah, no, I didn't really get to take great notes. I do remember it was absolutely freezing cold in the theater that day too, and like everybody was like, the lady had like a blanket and a coat on and gloves and shit.
Oh my god,
it was too much.
Yeah, it's like
I I was definitely the youngest person there by like probably 30 years, I'd say.
Oh boy.
Which is, I mean, yeah, nobody even knows about this movie, but the people that know are going to know how good it is.
Absolutely. And, if you want to wait it out until it's streaming, you can do that. But this is one of the few movies where I'm like, see it, pay for it, worth it.
Yeah, definitely.
But Ty, I think that's where we ended out here. Quite a handful of things to see before next week.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll at least have two. I'm going to have at least two of those for next week.
Yeah, and I will say, Godzilla movie, that looks good. I started watching the Godzilla TV show on Apple TV. Starts out pretty cool. Then, just like most of the other Godzilla films, they start focusing on the people too much, and I don't give a shit.
Yeah, that's typically how it goes. That's why that's why they're saying in -1, even the human aspect is good, which is rare.
Okay.
So, I'm gonna have to see that before eventually here too.
The TV show is like, my dad had 2 different families. You're my like half brother. That makes me angry. Ooga ooga ooga. Oh, let's go find him because he's lost. And I'm like, I just want to see Godzilla stomp on shit.
Yeah, for sure. Is there any monsters in the show at all?
There are. So Godzilla like fucks up San Francisco.
So is it like the first? Is it like set like during the first of the? Is it like
after?
canon? Is it canon? Okay.
I think it's supposed to be, because it focuses on the company Monarch.
Okay,
and Monarch goes and like studies all of these. They call them Titans, which are just big monsters. Yeah. And so that's what their dad did, and Kurt Russell's character and everything. They were part of Monarch, and so they go to Alaska, I guess, and they find some big ass monsters that are there, but it's not as cool as some of the other ones we've seen.
Oh, okay. Okay, I gotcha.
But yeah, that's where we'll wrap it up here, and we'll see you next time.
40 in the books.